Hi everyone, Miki Jacobs here. Thank you for joining Angel Chat. As always, I greatly appreciate you tuning in and joining me. Today we're gonna, I got inspired to talk about the Death of Dignity Act, if you will, from the story of that woman that had cancer and decided to help herself to cross over. I think she did it this past Saturday. So for those of you who heard it, then you know which one I mean. The woman that had a brain cancer and realized that she suffered too much, and she moved to Oregon, where a death of dignity is allowed, meaning that the doctor can prescribe pills and you can help yourself to cross over when you wish to. So I thought that would be a good topic to kind of pick up and express the perspective of our soul, spirits, about the concept of helping ourselves to cross over. Is it good? Is it bad? And that sort of information. So first and foremost, it's very important to realize that it is absolutely not a suicide, of course. From the perspective of the soul, it is completely different if the life is cut short because of the ego, because of the mind, whether it is legitimate, people obviously depressed and cannot move forward or suffer too much of a loss that have no interest in being on this planet, or something of abrupt, lose money, or whatever the reason is. From the soul perspective, to kill oneself is very, very bad and disappointed for our soul when we cross over, because and I did talk before about the topic of suicide. I did do one of the angel chat, because when we cross over and we review the life, we realize that things would have got better. Always. There is always help. There's always way that we can lift ourselves up, because we also have a lot of spirit and a lot of help from the spirit world to help us get better. Besides, it takes our soul a long time to plan an incarnation. It's a big event that has to do with a lot of planning, of course, alongside our spirit guides. So when the personality, when the ego, the mind, cut the life short for whatever reason, it's obviously a great disappointment for the soul that should have continued to experience life on planet Earth. That is different when someone like this woman, or like other people that realize that they are terminally ill, they can absolutely not get better, tried everything, did all the tests, the doctor said, this is it, you have whatever time to live, few months, few weeks, and then the person fully aware of the body declining and suffering, and decide to use that option of to take those pills and help themselves to cross over. So from a soul perspective, this is not the same as suicide, in a way that there is no karma, there is no repeat of any circumstances, because when a person kills themselves, the soul, if you will, from when it comes to spiritual growth, kind of go backward, because the soul would have to plan a life again with the same circumstances to try that same path again. So from that death with dignity, if you will, when someone helps themselves cross over, this is a fully aware, it's come from free will. Obviously they're not harming anyone, consider that they were informing the family, which most people of course do if they're not lonely, because a lot of people also obviously don't want to suffer because they are alone. But there's no karma, there is nothing negative. It's come from fully being I'm nervous of Elliot going to push me. It's coming from fully being aware that really life on earth is done for them because of the suffering. So that's very important to understand, that it is not a suffering, but rather the use of free will, which we all have in this life, in the spirit world, in any life. So that's important. However, there is an important additional information that it's important to keep in mind when it's come to someone help themselves to cross over, is that illnesses, for the most part, are indeed pre-designed by the soul. Obviously, we can create illness, as you know me talking in previous topic. If we don't take care of ourselves, we will create an illness of the mind, being too stressed, or the body, and such. But most illnesses, specifically illnesses that kind of come out of nowhere, illnesses that cancer or illnesses, they're usually pre-designed by the soul in order for growth, in order to balance karma from previous life, in order to teach souls around. Obviously, illness can teach oneself as well, the people around, a lot of lessons, compassion and trust and patience and faith. There is a lot of potential for growth that come through with an illness. So when someone decides to cut their life short because they don't want to go through the suffering, as far as the soul is concerned, there might be some potential growth that it's missing. Because if we take that beautiful woman that did a few days ago, obviously now in the spirit world, if we take that as an example, the soul might have planned that illness, including the dying process. Dying process can also teach a lot, despite the suffering, because remember, we are not talking here from the perspective of the mind, that it's common sense, no one wants to suffer, and if you have the nerves and the gut to do that, then you just take pills and you go to sleep and you wake up in the spirit world. But from the perspective of the soul, which what we're talking about here, you never know the lessons that were meant to teach until the end, until the last breath. It could be that in the dying process, the family or the parents would have learned something. A lot of time through the dying process, I see people literally the last few minutes of their life opened up, become spiritually aware, realize, get enlightened after years of unable to do that or identify with the mind or planet Earth. So you never know if you obviously cut the light short as to it's the noise of the horses. They're kind of getting into their pool and having fun. So wish you can see that, but the camera is kind of so again, so from a perspective of the soul, it's probably better, just for lack of better word, to continue to unfold the treatment, the illness, the diagnosis, all the way, unfortunately, if it's a life-threatening illness, all the way until the moment of death. Because all that include in the potential of growth that was designed by the soul through an illness. So from that perspective, if you would ask, is a good thing or not good from a soul perspective, probably not. Probably just continue to unfold until the soul exits the body. Also, another important thing is to bring up that our soul or higher self, the energy of the soul that incarnate and experience life on planet Earth, doesn't care for suffering because we're fearless. We're not afraid of cancer. We're not afraid of death. Not Miki, the soul. Because we know this is not our home, and when the life is done, we're going back home to a magnificent, fantastic dimension. So from a soul perspective, when we plan, when we write the details of the life, blueprint, as I often refer to it, then the soul is fearless. The soul want to grow, and if an illness provides growth, we will include that in the incarnation. As a matter of fact, each one of us, human souls, always have one incarnation that includes some sort of a major illness because it's an accelerated potential growth. So when we talk about suffering, we are talking about the suffering of this planet. Is that okay? No, it's not okay. It's not okay. Of course it's not okay. That specific woman, when I was reading about her story, she had a brain cancer with terrible seizures and just blackout and pain and suffering, and the body is all, kind of got bloated. So who wants that? Of course not. But once again, as a spiritual human being, certainly as a spiritual teacher, I have to present the perspective of spirituality, the perspective of the soul, as to what's good for the soul, because from push come to shove, we are here going through this life only for the soul. This is the only reason as to why we are here, and actually a little more clearer for the soul growth. That is why we're here, to grow, to teach others to grow, to express who we are as an energy being out into this world, to try and help this world, to try and help human beings to climb up, so so individually we grow, as well as a species grow and get more and more spiritually aware. So that is why we're here. So when you look at illnesses or death of dignity, or assisted suicide, or disconnecting machine if someone is in a coma, you have to take in consideration the perspective of the soul. You just have to. Now, obviously, she had a free will, didn't want to suffer, cut her life short in a way that she thought it's painless, which she had the right to do, because we do have a free will. She did not harm anyone. She had her family prepared for quite some time, I take it, and she did it. But when her soul crossed over, that soul maybe missed out on some growth opportunity that had to do with the last few weeks or the last few days, or you never know. I also often, channel spirits that they also teach the medical industry in order for the greatest good of the humanity as a whole, whether it is, experience different drugs or different treatments. So once again, if we go above just the suffering, then from a soul perspective, it is better to go through the whole process and naturally cross over in the right time, when the soul predesigned the exit to the spirit world. So I hope I didn't kind of shove too much information in one video, but obviously I needed to touch bits and pieces of other concepts, such as suicide and what's happened in certain situations, for the sake of understanding the channeling and understanding the topic. So I hope that will help you a little bit. I don't know, what's your opinion about that specific act, the death with dignity? Working with people, everyone has different opinion about it. Some think it's very bad, some think it's a sin, some think it's a suicide, some people think so. We have a lot of different ideas, but this is the information from the perspective of the soul about that sort of a case. So thank you very much for joining me once again, and I will see you next time, and be well and happy. Bye.